Hello, my name's Darren, and today I'm going to give my presentation about Air New Zealand. Just before I started, I went to the meeting. I shared my whole screen. Then I pressed record. And as the recording function takes about 5 seconds, at that point, I opened my slides and went to full screen. So hopefully it's all good from the beginning. So, Air New Zealand. Talk today will have 6 main parts. I'll begin with an overview of the company. I'll talk about some main historical moments, and I'll present 3 marketing features that Air New Zealand uses to promote and make a good customer experience, and some innovation ideas they've had. I'll have a graph of the share price. And lastly, I'll look at the future for Air New Zealand post-COVID-19. So, to begin with, Air New Zealand had been flying to 22 domestic destinations and 29 international destinations. However, this might change due to the new COVID situation in the future. Their headquarters are a beautiful building in Wynyard Quarter in Auckland, which is just next to Victoria Park. I'm sure you've seen that building. Currently, it's 53% owned by the New Zealand government. It has a few subsidiary airlines, such as Eagle Air, Mount Cook Air. Famously, the symbol for Air New Zealand is the koru, one of the first New Zealand companies to take Maori design and iconography to use for the company logo. And as you can see from the slide there, the last 4 years have been quite profitable for Air New Zealand. So they were in a good financial position going into COVID-19. In this part, I'll present a few historical moments for Air New Zealand. So first of all, it began in 1940, originally called TEAL, Tasman Empire Airways Limited. Air New Zealand flew from Auckland to Sydney, and they used flying boats. As you can see in the picture there, that's a flying boat starting at Mechanics Bay in Auckland, by Tamaki Drive there. Over the years, they added more destinations, especially the Pacific Islands. In 1965, it became known as Air New Zealand, and also the Auckland Airport was opened, the site in Mangere. A major setback for the company was in 1979 during a sightseeing flight which Air New Zealand did to Antarctica. The flight crashed into Mount Erebus. All 257 crew and passengers died. It was a shocking day for New Zealand and Air New Zealand. Throughout the 1980s, the airline has built up, become larger and larger, and you can see it's recovered from that disaster. It joined the Star Alliance in 1999. However, they had another major setback in 2001. I guess Air New Zealand had expanded too much and had bought Ansett Australia, a large airline in Australia which rivaled Qantas. However, due diligence wasn't done, and it was a very bad purchase. Basically, the New Zealand government had to pay nearly $1 billion to keep the airline going. Okay, and as you can see, a few more items there. Internet's bookings began, and in 2015, Air New Zealand celebrated its 75th anniversary. I'll look now at some marketing for Air New Zealand. I'm going to focus on 3 themes. The first one is the Kiwi designed uniforms, designed by Trellis Cooper, a New Zealand fashion label. You can see the use of the koru and the spirals and the Maori design and the birds and the feathers and the leaves, giving the uniform a very distinct New Zealand flavour and making it recognisable in airports around the world. Another feature from the last 10 years has been to paint the planes black and add the silver fern in addition to the koru. The black planes and the silver fern to try to connect with the sporting success that New Zealand has had, both with rugby and at the Olympic Games and other sports. The final thing I'd like to mention is the safety videos. Air New Zealand has become famous for making fun or funny safety videos. The idea is to have private people enjoy the video and share it with their friends and family in New Zealand or around the world. And this sharing of the videos is what we call going viral, basically providing Air New Zealand with some free advertising. In the picture you can see the images from the Lord of the Rings movies from the 2000s. However, lately some passengers are getting a little sick and tired of these fun safety videos, as they're always trying to come up with a new idea. So possibly they might revert back to something a little more boring and regular in the future. For innovation, I'd like to introduce 3 ideas. The first is the Sky Couch. As you can see in the pictures above, it provides passengers the chance to lie down in their premium economy seats. If you buy the aisle seat and the window seat, you have the chance to buy the middle seat at a discounted price, and then you can use it to lie down and get some more rest. In addition to this, more recently, Air New Zealand has unveiled Sky Nest. This is basically a bunk bed or a sleeping pod arrangement, as you can see in the picture on the bottom right, where passengers again pay a little bit extra, maximizing that premium economy ticket, and they have the opportunity to lie flat and sleep throughout their flight. They do not have a seat at all. This is still in the trial phase. The third feature I'd like to look at is something called Airband. This is a GPS device used to track passengers, especially children, as they travel perhaps unaccompanied from an airport in one city to another city. A text message is sent to the parents to show that their child has reached the destination or the check-in counter or the places along the journey. Now I'd like to show you a graph of Air New Zealand's share price. As you can see, over the last 5 years, the share price has been fairly stable, around $3 or $2.50, that type of mark. It's fluctuated a little bit, but fairly stable, up until the point a month ago with the COVID-19 situation, and the share price plummeted, much like many airlines around the world. The share price has recovered slightly, but it might take a long time to come back up to that $3 mark. Finally, I'd like to talk about post-COVID-19 and the situation with Air New Zealand. So there's been a few redundancies mentioned in the news already. Pilots, cabin crew, baggage staff, catering, everybody. There's reduced numbers of flights, and so definitely redundancies are happening. There's also been a massive impact on the revenue of Air New Zealand. The revenue had been around $6 billion per year. This year, it's forecast to be $500 million only. So a massive hit. As a result, Air New Zealand are likely to shift their focus to domestic routes, and knowing that the international tourism market might take another 6 months to be back to normal. Another upside, though, and possible future path is to focus on cargo, especially New Zealand's export products. Fresh meat, fresh food, all those things need to get from our markets to the overseas markets. Finally, Air New Zealand is celebrating 80 years this year. So we wish Air New Zealand all the best, and I hope they can rebound from this situation they're finding themselves in. So to finish, I'd like to give a quote from Richard Branson, the owner of Virgin Airlines in England. And his quote is, "The quickest way to become a millionaire in the airline business is to start out as a billionaire." So just to show that it is a difficult industry, even in the best of times. Thank you very much for listening.